Katata curve, ka trendsetter SUV ka bawandar kalapoy ha Shillong. One ban test drive ka coupe SUV paningkong ekari ani pila ban phone tikin number bala ay harum. Unang yalam liang prosyaw ba deru Menteri Rang Babarim u Dr. Mukul sangma uloong ba shwa bataw ya kaan Meghalaya Residence and Safety Security Act MRSSA arjar khanriu kelatwa jingtip na kasorkar India halor ka jingdawa ya ke inline permit ILP. Hapakren mata ka Sngew Dr. Mukul uloong ba haka jingtwa jingtip jangu na kibriu ka sorkar India las ngau thu bakalong ka Jwat bha banyo ka ILP badai halor ka ni ka daw baka sorkar katkum ka borjeng ka kalawan rano da ka an MRSSA. Uloong ba ka jingwan rong bian kibriu na bar pag ka jingwan tuot kibana po kari kalong kamat ka bakyabha na maraba kan kta ikitrash nong kumbadya hatripura. Uloong ba ka don kam banyather bha bat kiseng bhalang bat kipad ba bantela kam ya kane ka jingwan tuot kibriu sha ka jylla. Ka ILP ka de ka we ka bantela kam ya ka jingrung jingmi laitlan jung kibriu sha kane ka jylla henre ka don kam bantip la kalong ka bala ne em banyo ka ILP. Haka jingtwa jingtip jangu haka to ka por ko Menteri Rang Baga Jylla na ka sorkar India. Ulayo ka Khubor bakalong ka Jwat banyo ka ILP pad halor ka ni ka sorkar Jylla kalat hawlat bandan ka we kalat bantela kam ka jingwan rong kibriu badai halor ka ni baka sorkar haka por jangu kalat haw ka MRSSA. Uloong ba ka jingrong bean kibriu om tanghang ni henre wat hakiri kibaklan bor bat kibasta tam ha perthei kum ha USA England kidang ya kendo ya kani ka jing e.
Two things. One is the issue of illegal immigration, and another one is the uncontrolled influx from other parts of the country by citizens of India, but who are not otherwise domiciled to our own state. And if you allow this unchecked, then what is going to happen in respect of the demography of the state? And that is the concern. And this concern is not unfounded. This concern is based on what we have seen in the other state in the northeast itself. Tripura is the state which is usually used as an example, and Tripura is an example. Therefore, these concerns are serious, and these concerns must be addressed and must be addressed in such a manner, not confining to lip service, but this can happen, railway or no railway. This is what is happening. Therefore, we engage with all the concerned civil society organizations, and we try to understand the complexity associated with these whole movement of people, which is associated with the movement of people from other parts of the country to our state, and the possibility of movement of people resulting and culminating into their residing in the state and ultimately adversely affecting our demography. So we had to look at that angle, and we took serious cognizance of this serious issue, and then we tried to find out what are the ways. Then obviously one of the demand was to have ILP, to introduce ILP in the state of Meghalaya, so that through this regulation of movement of people, we will be able to check and balance and ensure that people can't just enter at their will. But obviously, we wanted to be more practical. So I wanted to know also whether it was possible for us to implement ILP. It is not a subject which can be dealt by the state government within the legislative jurisdiction of the state legislature. Therefore, we had to depend on Government of India. But when I tried to find the mind of the people in union government, I knew that we have an uphill task. Therefore, rather than promising people which I cannot implement, I engaged very frankly with our people, with our distinguished citizens representing various civil society organizations, to look at other options, and also to understand whether ILP is actually going to be an effective instrument to enable us to achieve the objective of deterring the unregulated flow and movement of people, thereby preventing the likely tendency of residing in the state, thereby defeating the purpose of maintaining our original demography. And that's how the whole engagement started. If this be the concern, can we address this concern? Then we try to put our cards on the table. Then we started talking. Then we started looking at, can we do something which is within our legislative power, which is within our legislative jurisdiction? And then that time again, you will recollect, there was one of the judgment from the Honorable High Court by the then Justice S.R. Sen, which again was a judgment which created some issues before the people of the state pertaining to the recognition of the headmen in the state of Meghalaya, particularly Khasi's region, particularly Shillong. So all these things, how we looked at the legislative jurisdiction of our state legislature and try to put things together and look at our legislative exercise, which is within our own domain of state legislature. Then we came up with the possibilities of having effective law which can be an alternative to ILP. And when we looked at the alternative to ILP, we also looked at as to whether we can have an alternative, but which again can be more comprehensive to have better effectivity, better outcome to achieve the objective of controlling the likelihood of unregulated influx further. And so there was an exhaustive discussion. It was not something which happened overnight. It took long time, as you recollect. Repeated sitting, then we started, drafting the law. Then everybody somehow contributed. So it was a law where the authors were collective. It was not just that who led the government was the author. He took our responsibility of legislation, but everything, all that is somehow formatted in these proposed legislations were all collections of ideas within the mandate of the Constitution of India to ensure that we don't overstep our state legislature domain, lest it comes, something which again will be subject to intervention by union government. So you have to understand that there's a union lease, there's a state subject, there's a union subject. So you have to look at whether you are overstepping your whatever domain, legislative domain you have. So it was a very meticulous job put collectively by all concerned, all the stakeholders, and we came up with Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act 2016. Now you look at the mandate of the Act. This mandate of the Act was considered as an effective piece of legislation which can address the concern of our people to deal with the possibility of this uncontrolled influx of people from outside the state and illegal immigration, including safety and security of the citizens of the state. The Act in detail, you will see how overall, if you do not know your neighborhood, I think you should be concerned about your safety, because we must know who is in your neighborhood. All good people, or are there some elements of who belong to some kind of organizations who may be a challenge for the peaceful environment of the neighborhood. All these things are a matter of concern. You are seeing what is happening in USA. USA, who has one of the most stringent law of dealing with illegal immigration, and you try for a visa, do you get easily visa for US or visa for United Kingdom? It is the most difficult job. But at the same time, they have the problem of illegal immigration, problem of demography. The resultant change in demography is the problem globally. So therefore, this law has been designed in such a way that it can actually, to a great extent, handle this problem. And once this proposed piece of legislation was collectively finalized, then we got the approval of the House with the involvement of all the political parties, and we got the assent, and it became an act. So you have the Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act 2016. But what has happened? After 2018, when everybody was having this piece of legislation as the weapon to deal with this concern, and based on which we went ahead with all the survey works and all for the railway alignment. That's why you have the Tetalia Barnihat railway alignment. Earlier, the alignment was different also. Then subsequently, it was Tetalia Barnihat. Then, from Barnihat beyond, was there no survey done by railway? There was a survey to connect the district capital. But this was all done on good faith because we all had the trust and faith in this particular act, which was the mandate of this August House. Because we felt that this MRSSA will be good enough to deal with our concern. Therefore, everybody was, to a great extent saying, okay, we see up to this level. Beyond Barnihat, we will see afterwards. So up to Barnihat, there was no problem till then. But after 2018, what has happened? The present government tried to tell the people that they need to amend it. Amend which section, which part? And that means you are indirectly indicating that this law is not good enough. That's why the trust and confidence on the ability of this act to deal with this concern became a question. And I believe that this was all done for political reason, but you have the consequences. And again, this whole thing was again aggravated by a sudden, unforeseeable new challenge, socio-political challenge, which was an offshoot of the decision to implement Citizens Amendment Act. Therefore, the whole, overall concern became much more aggravated. Maybe now, because of these, there will be more tendency of people from outside to come and stay and reside and change the demography of the state. So there are all kind of other factors also which have worked on this whole. Therefore, it is necessary for us to really discuss this issue with all the stakeholders, with all the civil society organizations who are flagging their concern. I have seen the statements in the past, in the preceding years, earlier also, when civil society organizations have always maintained that we are not against any developmental agenda. But until such concerns are addressed, it will be difficult for us to agree because our apprehensions are not handled and the apprehensions are not being addressed. So this is something which ultimately creates a sense of responsibility that we need to discuss. We need to take everybody on board and find out the concerns and ways and means to deal with these concerns. I think that is how it should go.